Even though you're no longer in a relationship with your ex, but still communication is very important, especially if you're dealing with children and you're co-parenting these children. You know children can see that and they will use that against you. And they know how to do that. Today we're going to be talking about how to deal with mistakes in co-parenting. Hello my beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. For those that are new, my name is Nelly. Dealing with baby mamas or baby daddies can be daunting, especially if you're not getting along. Maybe you might think that you're both communicating well with each other, not realizing that there's so many things that you have to work on. Even the smallest things, you can't seem to get into an agreement, not realizing that this doesn't just affect you, it affects the children involved as well. But most of the time, we don't think about the children, we think about ourselves, how to get back to your ex. This is not the time that you should be doing that, especially when there are kids involved. Whether you're now married or not, co-parenting has to come with certain rules and boundaries. You both need to come with an agreement with these rules, set these rules and be consistent with them. As much as children will fight, but you both need to set this routine and structure where it's being followed in both homes. Be consistent about it. If the children go to bed at 8 p.m., you need to follow the same rules in both homes. You don't want the children to start making comments like, when we are in daddy's house, we go to bed very late. Or when we are in mommy's house, she lets us watch TV until late. You don't want to get into that conversation, especially with the child. You need to try and follow the same routine. This may cause issues. You both need to address them. Whether it's something to do with home or something to do with school, you both need to address these issues. Be open and honest when it comes to communication. Remember, don't do things that will cause problems with your current spouse. Your current spouse is also part of these children's lives. One of the mistakes when dealing with co-parenting is you're not united. You may be separated, but when it comes to these children, you need to be united. It makes communication much easier when you're united. Because when it comes to children and they know that you're both fighting, they will play you without you even realizing it. They know you cannot confirm their stories because you're not talking, and frequently test your boundaries and your rules. Who are you going to confirm those rules to? They know what they're doing. Children lie. They will lie about little things like, mommy said it's okay if I do this. If you're not going to communicate, how are you going to confirm this? So you need to communicate with your ex. In that way, you'll be able to tell whether this is a lie or not. The next mistake in co-parenting is that selfish mindset. Just because now you're married, you feel like you have to control how the other parent can see the child. These are both your children, and children have got the right to see the parents. Both parents, including the grandparents as well. Allow the children to see the grandparents. Just because your children are being taken care of by somebody else, you start having issues with that, not realizing that this also affects the children. So you need to put your selfish mindset aside and think about how we can make things better for this children, because in the long run, this affects the child. You both have different styles in raising up children. Avoid criticizing one another, especially in front of the children. Communication in co-parenting is extremely vital for your child's healthy development. You need to avoid blaming and shaming one another. If you notice that there's an issue that this child does whenever they come back from the other parent, raise these issues and discuss them in a very matured way. Don't start blaming and shaming each other. It's not going to solve anything. Don't sabotage your child's relationship with your ex, or use that child to gain information on what's happening in the other home so that you can use that against them. Children will talk, and sometimes it's just in an innocent way. Don't start digging information about what's happening in the other home. It's none of your business what's happening in the other home, as long as your child is taken care of. It doesn't matter who's taking care of that child in the other home, because your ex has chose to be with that partner. So respect that. Until the child starts complaining, then you can do something about it. The next mistake is you need to avoid using the child as a communication messenger. If you are not talking and you're using the child to communicate with each other, this eventually stresses the child, because sometimes we use these children and toss them around like a tennis ball. whereas you should be the ones communicating with each other. It won't kill you to communicate with each other, because communicating through a child is one of the biggest mistakes you can do. Many parents don't realize that using the children to pass messages to one another can be very stressful to the children emotionally. First of all, it sends a negative message to the child that the parents cannot communicate with each other even with the most simple things. And another mistake that parents do is not sharing information with one another. This is one of the major problems as well, especially when it comes to issues with regards to schools. Some schools, they forget to copy both parents when it comes to emails or text messages, because they are expecting you're communicating with each other. You need to reach out and communicate with one another. You cannot assume that your ex received the same message that you got from school, or maybe a message from the doctors or anyone. If you find that difficult, there's some apps that you can download whereby you can share information with the ex. You don't know how that affects the child. The child wants both parents to be there, to be watching, especially when it comes to sports activities. And you are holding that information for your own selfish reasons. That is why you need to share this information and keep each other informed with any changes when it comes to the children. Another thing that you need to avoid is comparison. A lot of parents do that without even realizing it, but some, they are aware of that. This is when the one parent buys something for the child and the other parent feels like they can do a better job. This also happens when you're married as well. There is so much comparison when it comes to parents, not realizing it that their children don't even care. Sometimes we forget that you're not doing this for your ex, you're doing this for your children. So you need to avoid this comparison. Children don't care which parent is worthy and which is not. They want their parents both involved in their lives. And we tend to forget that. We start focusing on ourselves and we forget about the children. So you need to avoid comparison. It's not going to solve anything. You need to focus on the children than focusing on each other. Co-parenting is simple if it's done in a matured way. You need to set a good example on these kids. It doesn't mean that just because you're communicating with each other in a very matured way, it means you are now attracted to each other. You're just setting a good example to these children. Remember, these children are already stressed with their separation. Don't make it worse by letting them see you guys fighting about the smallest things. There will always be challenges when it comes to co-parenting. You both need to come to an agreement and avoid these mistakes. Thank you for watching. If this is content that you like, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you in the next video. God bless you.